What's up, guys? Mike Brown here for TheLines.com. Let's talk some Thursday night football. Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. You can see we got it pulled up over here on the lines with some thoughts from Eli as well. Of course, everything we do absolutely free, so please go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below, and also give us a thumbs up there. Give us a comment as well in the comment section. Let us know how you are playing Thursday night football. As we said, Falcons and Panthers sitting 2.5 pretty much across the board, as you see, in favor of the Atlanta Falcons. 42.5 is your total. I'll scroll down right here. You can take a look at the injury news. Weather shouldn't be that big of a factor in this thing. It is outdoors, we should mention, in Carolina. A.J. Terrell, really the only injury of note here in this game. Everybody else on the Carolina side ended up as probable. So we are going to really it's going to be, A.J. Terrell, who is by far their best corner for the Atlanta Falcons, is going to be out in this game. I'll leave it here for a second on the Falcon offense versus the Panthers defense so far. And what we're really talking about here is an offense in the Falcons that has likely been overperforming against a defense in Carolina that's likely been underperforming. Atlanta overall DVOA, they're like the 8th overall offense. I know that sounds just absolutely wacky. And then you look at all these players that the Carolina has on the defensive side of the ball, and yet they're 28th overall DVOA. And if you look what Pro Football Focus thinks, they've got Atlanta 4th overall from an offensive perspective. They have the defense for Carolina sitting at 19th. So again, 2 units that were expected to be probably more the opposite for the numbers that we get from them so far through this course of the season. Now, is this just who these teams are? Is this not any sort of correction that's going to be coming? I mean, that's something we have to ask ourselves, right? And I actually think that there's going to be some correction here coming in this thing. So I'm of the belief that the Atlanta offense is not as good as we have seen so far, and that the Carolina defense is not as bad as we have seen so far. Panthers offense versus the Falcons defense now right here on your screen. And really what we get is kind of the same type-ish numbers for Carolina. They are 31st overall offense, 26th overall offense, according to Pro Football Focus. If we look on the defensive side for Atlanta, now their defense has been as bad as the defense for Carolina. Atlanta's defense 29th, DVOA 27th, according to Pro Football Focus, and even worse, their defensive success rate overall is dead last in the NFL at 32nd, yards per play at 31st. So their defense has been equally really as bad as Carolina's. That said, Carolina's, if you do look, there are at least some trends that at least so far say that they're more middling than terrible. Their yards per play is only at 17th. Their success rate's at 21st. So there are some things that kind of show that maybe they're better. Their tackling, which is again another big factor in some of the stuff that maybe gets overlooked a lot, because if a team tackles well, that certainly helps out the defense. They're 14th in tackling. So again, like I said, I think the Carolina defense is at least showing something that maybe they're at least a little bit better than these advanced metrics say. So here's some insights here from Eli, if you want to read on. I mean, look, for me, guys, this is not a game I'm jumping up and down to bet, right? I think it's appropriately lined, pretty close to where I would have put everything. I think, though, I would have had Atlanta at 3, which now that it's at 2.5, you would think would just spark a bet for me. But I actually just kind of think it's about right. I mean, if I was going to play this thing on a side, I might even play Atlanta in the first half as a bet, because here's the thing. PJ Walker starting for Carolina. We saw last week when he played absolutely horrendously. They put in Baker Mayfield, and listen, is Baker any good? He is not. Baker's not good. But Baker's better than PJ Walker. For sure, without a doubt. It's not even close. And so I don't want to bet Atlanta full game here, even though it's only 2.5. It's under a field goal, because I think that there is some backdoor potential here, even if they do get up in the first half on a PJ Walker-led Carolina team. Because, look, what's to stop Carolina from doing exactly what they did last week, going to Baker in the second half, and him actually having some success throwing the ball? Because, again, this is an Atlanta defense, one, that's been putrid all season long, and two, is without their best corner in A.J. Terrell. So if I'm playing the spread, I would be playing Atlanta first half. That's kind of how I would be going about this. From a total perspective, and I'll scroll back up if you forgot where we're at. We're at 2.5 and we are at 42.5. Even though we saw these two teams play a couple of weeks ago and this thing went to 37-34 in overtime, I would still be leaning towards the under here. Hopefully we could even get another half point or even a full point before this thing kicks off, because as we know, primetime solo games, people like to bet the overs. But I like the under in this thing because, again, we're still getting, in my opinion, two poor offenses. I know that the advanced metrics said that the Falcons are better, but I do believe we're going to see some regression here from this team. There's just not a lot of playmakers on this team, right? I mean, there's just not a lot of, and they're one-dimensional in running the ball. That's the other thing, right, that leans you towards an under if you wanted to play the under in this thing, is they're one-dimensional. Really, both these teams are pretty one-dimensional as long as P.J. Walker is under center, right? They can run the ball, and that's about it. And so, for me, I do like the under if I was going to be playing the total in this game. So let's go to some player props here, and at least I think that there might be some value from a player prop perspective. And D'Onta Foreman, we can get an under of 57.5 on D'Onta Foreman. And the reason I say the under is there's a couple of different paths to this getting there. One, Chuba Hubbard's going to be back in this game. So we could go kind of right back to what we saw before he got hurt and it be a 50-50 split from a carry perspective. So that right there alone, if he's only getting 10 carries, he's going to have to be incredibly efficient to get over 57. And he could, right? If he breaks one long run, then, we're screwed. But, he'd have to average 5.8 yards a carry on his 10 carries to get over. So I'll take the under 57.5 that you can find out there in this one. Also, the other thing, the second path to this getting home is just what we saw last week, right? So the Carolina got trucked last week, and he goes to the sideline. He's not a pass catching back, so he goes to the sideline, and they bring in other people to come in and catch passes and things like that. So there's a couple of different ways that this could get home for us on the under 57.5. Now, breaks one big long run, we're probably screwed, but I'll play the under in that. And then the other one, and I know this seems a little crazy considering I would lean towards the under from a total perspective in the game overall. I would lean towards a first half bet on the Falcons overall. But for Terrace Marshall, what I really wanted was to go over on the receptions, but you can see the juice has gotten way out of hand. So instead, I'll just cut the bet down and play an over on yardage. Really, really wanted to play the receptions, but again, it's just gotten out of hand at the minus 160 and whatnot. So we'll just reduce the unit here and play the over on the receiving yardage. So Terrace Marshall is their second round pick from a year ago. Didn't really pan out at all in his rookie season. And so all it took was Robbie Anderson getting traded away. And what do we get now? We get a guy who is running every single route basically out there, every single drop back, and has over a 20% target share, over a 28% air yards for this team as well. So actually grading out pretty well as well. He's like inside the top 25 of receivers since he became a full-time player, according to Pro Football Focus grade. So he is also not going to be the center of attention because there's still DJ Moore there. And so he's going to get either the second or third best corner on a team that doesn't have any corners as it is anyway, right? So that's kind of the bonus we get with Terrace Marshall. And of course, there's always two paths to victory here. And that also being that they are the underdog. They might be trailing in the game and late have to start throwing the ball a whole lot more. And then the other thing is PJ Walker getting benched at half again, like he did last time. And if that's the case, then, I like this bet even more with Baker Mayfield, who is a much more capable passer under center, and Terrace Marshall getting over the 35.5 receiving yards. Again, really would have liked. And if the book, whatever book you're at has the 2.5 and it's not near as juiced, I'd rather do the receptions. But again, I'm not going to ever recommend a minus 160 prop like that. Guys, everything we do, absolutely free. So please go ahead, subscribe, rate, and review. Put together a little same game parlay here. Don't really love this game overall in general. I'm sure you can tell. Don't really have a strong conviction in this game. So this is more of just hey, look, it's a squeaky, kind of low scoring ish game. So I have under alt total of 47.5. So get up over the 44 and the 47. Falcons under 27.5 because if the Falcons go off in this game, then we're not getting under the 47.5 anyway. So I have them under the 28 point threshold. Like I said, Falcons first half at a half a point. So basically they just have to win the first half. The Falcons, we already talked that through a little bit earlier. And then again, we said Deontay Foreman, given the couple of different reasons that we mentioned, under on his, but we took the alt on the rush yards. So under 80 basically rushing yards. And so that comes out to 3-1. If you want to get wacky and say that, if you want one of these like long shot kind of lottery ticket paydays, you can certainly go to these. You go to the team touchdown props. And if you think that this is just going to be a super low scoring game, if you don't think there's going to be a ton going on, then you can add in, okay, Falcons are going to have, they're not going to have, that didn't even affect the payout there. So I guess we could come to this one. Falcons aren't going to score 3 touchdowns. The Panthers also aren't going to score 3 touchdowns. And then we get up to, 5-1 or something like that. You can start kind of toying around with that if you want to, if you're looking for a much bigger payday. But again, just not a ton to tell a story with here in this one that I feel comfortable about. So, 3-1 is about as best we're going to do. I do like these props though. Like I said, a couple of different ways the Marshall prop gets home and a couple of different ways the Foreman prop gets home for us. And then from a game standpoint, lean more Falcons first half and lean more under, but nothing, just no big bets in the account for this game. Now, there is a alternative way. Again, we're sitting at 2.5. You can take a home team up to 8.5. You can open a teaser leg on Thursday and pair it with a game a little bit further down the line, right? You could pair it with a different game later on Sunday or Monday. So there is that with the Panthers. Do we really think that the Falcons are going to blow anybody out? And it is a home team in a low total game that you can get up to 8.5. Historically, those have always been really strong teaser legs. And also in a game in which, the strength of both of these squads is running the football, and you just don't expect this thing to get into a shootout. That 37-34 overtime game, from a week ago seems like a real true anomaly. So there is an alternative way to go about that. And again, that historically has been a very, very strong teaser leg in taking a home team up to 8.5 in a game with just a 42.5 total. Guys, here's the Discord button, so click on that. Be sure to get in the discussion over there as well. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up on this video, and then let us know in the comment section, how are you playing this game? What do you see in this one? What do you think is the very best bet here? Good luck on all your bets on Thursday Night Football.